Hello, hello, and welcome back to Castles, Capes, and Clones presents Loki. This is actually going to be a Loki Palooza because we just had life get in our way. And so
Yeah.
we have not talked about 4, 5, and 6 episodes. So we are going to be covering all of that today. And if you have not watched these episodes yet, just come back later to watch. You can watch this on replay because we are going to be spoiling the heck out of it. So, just your warning, we are spoiling. We are Castlescapes and Clones, where we discuss everything in the Disney universe. My name is Loren, and I'm here with my cousin and co-pilot Rich.
Hello.
How's it going?
It's going okay.
Yeah, I know. I'm
Yeah.
super excited about this discussion.
There's a lot. A lot.
A lot to unpack. A lot to unpack. So we will
Yeah.
get to it. But before we do, if you are out there, leave us a comment. We would love to hear from you and see if you have any burning questions. So we will just try to tackle as much as we can during this episode. So let's just start with episode 4. This is where we start to go, oh my God, now we're getting answers to our questions, sorta. Um, what did you think of episode 4? This is the one where, the timekeepers, we find out the timekeepers are robots. And I think that Mobius finds out that he is a variant. And and then at the end, Loki is pruned. Mobius is pruned. What did you think of episode 4?
I liked it. It's just
Mm-hmm.
it's strange looking back on it, knowing what happens. Right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So like, it raised a lot of questions with the whole the variant, like the timekeepers being Disney animatronics, basically.
Yeah.
And I remember feeling like, oh, okay, so this is like a Wizard of Oz type scenario,
Right.
right?
Yeah, that's
Um,
exactly the way it is.
but when you get to the last episode, it's not a Wizard of Oz episode or thing. It's a Willy
Yeah.
Wonka thing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's a good way of explaining it.
Yeah. So like like all these Marvel shows, especially like WandaVision and Loki, it just keeps you kind of guessing things, and then there's
Mm-hmm.
always these theories and whatnot. So, um, I don't know. It's like it was it. I like the episode. Like everything just works now that I have seen everything.
Yeah, it's true. Is there any things that stand out to you in this particular episode? Like, I know that for me it's timekeepers, and I thought that, oh my God, I actually thought that they were real, but I thought that there was somebody behind the curtain, like you had mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
And then when they knocked the one that I think is behind it head off, I was like, wait a minute, huh?
Yeah.
And we'll get into that in a minute, but yeah, that was a standout moment for me.
The, like, for me, it was seeing young Sylvie, because we're led to
Oh yeah,
believe that this is one timeline,
right.
the sacred timeline. Yet she's a female,
Yeah,
so she exists at the same time that Loki, that we know, exists. So
exactly.
what is it like? Is there a difference between the timeline and the universe?
Who knows? Who knows?
right? Because there's multiple. We know there's multiple universes because in Doctor Strange, Dormammu is not in the same universe or whatever you want to call it. So
Yeah,
when
he's
Doctor
in
Strange
different.
goes to him, that's a different universe. So it's like
Mm-hmm.
in these different universes, does that mean there are still variations of everybody,
Right.
right? And so when I mean, if you're watching this right now, like we said, we're gonna talk about all 3 episodes, like the last 3 episodes. So
Mm-hmm.
you should have seen the last episode by now. So when the He Who Remains is talking about all these things, it's not clear exactly how this all works. Like there's a timeline, but there's multiple universes.
Right.
And
There's a lot of questions that you know,
right,
and we'll get into this a little bit more when we get into our general discussion.
right. But
So,
that seeing that, because I'm like, okay, how does this like? I thought the Nexus event in her timeline was her being born
right.
a female or being portrayed as a female,
Yeah, but
but
she's
it's not
clearly
because
like
she's like, I mean,
10 years old
I
or
don't know
something
I don't
like
know
that.
how Asgardians or and actually in her
Oh
case,
yeah,
I don't know
yeah.
Frost
She could be
Giants.
like 50
I
years
don't know how
old or
Frost
something.
Giants age. It could be a Grogu thing, and she's like
Right. I know exactly.
300 years old at this
He's
point.
doing it.
But she's clearly been alive for. I mean, if you, even we look at it just in UN terms, she's been alive for at least 10 years. And so,
Right.
why did nothing she do until that moment? Like, what was it that was her Nexus event? And that's a question
That's
she poses later in the next episode or this episode.
right.
I can't remember which exactly. But she asks Ravonna like, "What was my Nexus event?" And it's
Yeah.
like, it's not. She knows because she
Hmm.
smugly says, "I don't remember," but she knows, right? And it's not her
Yeah.
being born. It's something.
Something
This
else.
little kid who was playing with a Valkyrie and a dragon and Hela's wolf and a Viking ship, like something at that moment caused a Nexus event.
Can you imagine being a child and then like kidnapped by the TVA and then charged as a criminal? I mean, that
You know, it's
would
I,
be frightening.
almost as frightening as being a kid on Earth being sucked up into an alien ship with a blue guy and
True.
a crew of miscreants.
True. True.
There's a lot of child kidnapping in
Yeah.
in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Right.
But yeah, I mean
Right.
like she's clearly idolizes the Valkyries, and I think that might play into things.
Oh, interesting. I didn't think about that.
Right? It's something I don't think Loki that we know was something he looked up to. I think
Hmm.
part of that is because this Loki is a female, and then the Valkyries were like these legendary. At this point, they were wiped out. So now, but they were now these legendary, mythical kind of people in the Asgardian
Yeah.
history, right? So
Right.
maybe that's what it is. Maybe like her path was was going to choose to be a hero,
Hmm.
right? And that's not. It seems to me like Loki's role in every single variant is more they have to be um, not evil, but they have to be Loki, right?
Hmm.
And we'll get into it later. There's a line that Kid Loki says that I think plays into it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So with that mentioning kids Loki, let's go ahead to episode 5.
Though
This is the
there is one
oh
thing I
god.
want to say also that about that episode 4 brought out, and that
Okay.
is when Mobius is I think talking to B-15 B-15, I think that's her name.
B-15, yeah.
They're talking about like causing like all the Loki's causing trouble. Like we've seen this and this. He mentions vampires, so
I know. Yeah.
just a nonchalant kind of like Blade's coming,
Right.
and
Yeah, who
possibly
knows?
Morbius, not to be confused with Mobius.
Right.
So I thought that was a little nice nod to future content.
I totally agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So episode 5, we find out at the end of episode 4. Like if you stayed through the mid credits, you saw that Loki, even though he was pruned, ended up somewhere else, and he was standing before him was an older Loki, a younger Loki, and kind of a barbarian Loki,
And
and alligator Loki. And
cannot forget alligator Loki.
right, exactly. That's like, I think the most popular Loki right now is alligator Loki.
I would be disappointed if they don't start selling alligator Lokis at the parks or somewhere.
Yeah,
'Cause
I know they should totally do that.
I need one.
Yeah,
I need one of those and a Miss Minutes something.
I want to stuff Miss Minutes. Right now, I think she's only on pins.
Or you know what I want? I want a light up lamp Miss Minutes.
Oh my god, that would be so cool if they. Yeah, they need to. I'm telling you, they need to step up their merchandising game
Right?
with these shows. They're so popular, and they should have known from WandaVision that these shows are just, taking off. And I know that they have pop vinyls, and
Yeah.
I was watching Geeking Out with Melly Mel's show right before this, and they were showing some other like kind of chibi Loki toys, which I've seen them that style before. Like they're popular in the Asian in Asia,
Right.
and yeah, I need those. I need all of them. But there's no alligator Loki stuff. I need that. I need Miss Minutes.
Yeah. I mean, I knew because like if you go to California Adventure, like after an episode airs, like a new version of Loki shows up.
Yeah, that's so cool.
And they have the Miss Minutes statue
Yeah, like a
photo op
photo.
thing, right?
Yeah,
So, I know like on Shop Disney they have like shirts, but I'm like that's like I feel like they just slap on an image and that's a shirt, but like actual merch.
like I would love Miss Minutes, and then below it says, "For all time, always."
I just want Miss
That would
Minutes
be-
and like, hey y'all.
Yeah. They need to do her with everything. She's like the greatest mascot ever.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, one, it's Tara Strong, so like
I love how she has a southern accent.
I know, right? For whatever reason.
whatsoever. Yeah, for no reason whatsoever. But it's so funny.
Like, I wonder whose choice that was. Like,
I don't know.
I mean, obviously, Tara Strong can do whatever because she's like the voice of like 8,000 different characters,
Yeah.
right? Like she's everything, and then there's like, I think she should be Southern. I mean, but it works. It works really well.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Yeah.
Anyway, in this episode, we see where we are. We're in the void at the end of time, and we see all of these Lokis. Not only this one, but there is a power play by President Loki.
President Loki, like when in I forget which episode when they were going through all the different Lokis, like we saw like I don't know, like Behemoth Loki and the soccer player Loki or whatever. There was like a
Mhm.
weird looking Loki that's actually in that shot, also standing next to President Loki.
Oh, I didn't see him.
Yeah, it's like this weird horn
Right.
guy. Uh,
I
yeah,
I know that they had Throg in there, and I heard that he only says one thing, I can't remember what it is,
and he's very
but
quick.
yeah, it was really quick. But that was Chris Hemsworth.
Yep, it was
I know that's crazy.
right. There's a lot
Uh,
of Easter eggs in this episode.
oh, it was so good. It was so good. I think it's one of my favorite episodes,
Yeah,
just because of all the Lokis. And I mean, hello, older Loki in the comic
the comic.
accurate, yeah, classic costume, and it's so funny. It looks so ridiculous, but it works.
Yeah, and it's funny because like if you think about the comic and that costume, you're like, it could only work in comic books. Like,
Yeah,
and I mean, like like when they go through movies, like Marvel does a good job in interpreting those costumes, so to make it look good. But that one is like the like it was almost like from WandaVision when the Halloween episode where
yes,
they're in their classic outfits, but you're like that would never actually work as if that was like that was their costumes in a big budget superhero
film.
film
Yeah,
because you're like it's just spandex. It's,
I know. Although I did like Scarlet Witch.
yeah, I
Like
mean it looked good, but
she
like
looked.
it would be like it was the kind of that same line from X-Men, the first one where Wolverine's like, or someone's like, "Did you expect yellow spandex or something?" I'm like,
Yeah,
no, because like yeah, I mean it worked for Batman in in the '60s or '70s, whatever.
although I am hoping that once we see Wolverine, at least we see him once in a yellow costume. Like it doesn't have to be for a whole movie. But I want to see him in that yellow costume.
I mean, I'm pretty sure he's going to be. I don't think they're going to do
Yeah,
the whole '90s X-Men version where they all wear the same
yeah,
color and it's like just a uniform. Because
yeah.
we've never really gotten that. Like every character that Marvel's put out in the cinematic universe has somewhat resembled their character,
They're
or eventually does. Because like when in Endgame, Rick Rocket all of a sudden was wearing his like more classic look,
yeah,
right? And I'm like, I can get behind it. And again, everything points to yeah, Mysterio.
right,
They
right.
made that work.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
I have a feeling I don't know if they're gonna go with like the classic Wolverine with the yellow, or that kind of like darker yellow that he's kind of more
Yeah,
known
like a
for.
muted, like
Yeah,
that sand
yeah,
color.
like that. It's that famous Jim Lee cover of like X-Men #1 when they were kind of rebooted
Right.
in the '90s.
Yeah,
Like that look is probably like because that's also similar to the cartoon version of him. So I think
yeah.
they might do that. But it'd be awesome if like there was a nod to the bright yellow version
And I just want to see those, like
and that thing.
I don't know
I
what you
don't.
call those, but
I mean, it's
whatever
like
it is.
a
It's not horns,
no.
but
It's like an exaggerated domino mask.
right.
But yeah, I'm fairly confident we're gonna see a Wolverine that
Hmm.
that harkens back to that classic or like iconic Wolverine look, and not the '90s Hugh Jackman version of him.
Yeah, that's one thing that I don't want. It's everybody in black leather. I really want to see all the X-Men. It doesn't have to be like exactly like they're not, but I wanted them to be different in different costumes.
Like I want to see Bobby Drake not wear like when he's Iceman, he's Iceman, like
Mm-hmm.
clear blue, whatever.
Yep.
It'd be
That
awesome if
one
he
too.
starts off with the classics Iceman look. Looks
Snowman.
like a big snowman.
Yeah. That would be awesome.
Yeah.
See, like, I would love to see some of this kind of stuff, even if it's like an other universe.
Yeah.
Bobby. I would love to see that.
But yeah,
So, and the universe is opened up.
it did. It has.
Yeah. So anyway, just going back to Loki,
Yeah.
they they're in the void. There's power plays going on amongst the Lokis. Turns out Sylvie ended up pruning herself because she was backed into a corner in the TVA by Renslayer,
Mm-hmm.
and Mobius is there as well. Rescue Sylvie. They all find each other, and Sylvie and Loki go to confront Elias, which is this big smoke dog dragon looking thing.
It's Galactus from the final Fantastic Four.
Yeah, it's Galactus. But anyway, it is. They want to find out what is next or whatever, and Sylvie comes up with the idea of enchanting it, and both her and Loki.
I mean, like, so she came to that conclusion because when she ran away from it, she touched it.
Right.
And had a vision, and then that's when she realized it's something. If she can have that connection, she knows she can enchant. It can be enchanted.
Yeah.
Right.
So
I mean, we should step back a little. Like, so Renslayer, right?
Uh-huh.
In the previous episode, she not only prunes Loki, but she prunes Mobius, and seemingly that's one of her closest friends, allies.
Yeah.
Right? But in this episode, she knows he's probably like alive. Like she knows, like no one knew where everyone who got pruned. No one really knew what happened to them, but she was fully aware of what happens to everything that gets pruned.
Totally.
And it's like, I'm still trying to figure out her character. Like, where does she fall in? Like, sometimes I feel like she has somewhat good intentions, but then a lot of times she doesn't.
At the same time, yeah.
Right.
And we'll talk about that in a minute.
But like that whole scene with her and Miss Minutes and Sylvie, like, I like how there's like this, Miss Minutes has a lot more of a role.
Right.
It's almost like not like an assistant, but it was in previous episodes she was more like the I don't know, the database person.
Yeah, she's like the keeper of info.
Right, but there's more to Miss Minutes than meets the eye, especially after also the last episode with her.
That's why we need the merch.
All right. But like, there's still a lot going on over there, and I'm not really sure. I mean, we know Renslayer's role in the comics, so I wonder if some of that stuff still is going to translate to the MCU.
I think so. I think that. Well, I mean, we're doing spoilers, so obviously there's going to be season 2.
Yep.
But that's got to come out later. Like, I think the Multiverse of Madness is coming out before then. So whatever they're planning and wherever she went is going to play in later than Multiverse of Madness.
Yeah.
So yeah, but we'll talk about that in a minute. So anyway, they end up opening up a pocket to, they don't know when or where. Uh, but before we move on to episode 6, any thoughts, like any standout moments for you from episode 5?
I mean, like, we can't not talk about some of the Easter eggs in this. I
Yes.
feel like some of the
Uh,
bigger ones. Yellow Jacket's helmet is in there,
oh, yeah, that's right.
which who knows? Because like in Ant-Man, he didn't get. I mean, I think we all think he got killed, but technically he was just sent to the quantum realm. He just kept shrinking.
He's supposed to appear in
Quantum.
Quantumania.
Is he?
It's like, oh, yeah, I read something that he's returning.
Huh.
So that's interesting because that's like that Easter egg must be a harbinger
Right.
for his
And
coming.
not only like because like the only thing we knew about him in this MCU is that he shrank, but that helmet was huge. So I wonder if that's a variant of him, or if that
Yeah.
was his helmet and he figured out how to get bigger, like Ant-Man can do,
Yeah,
right?
I don't know.
Yeah. The Avengers Tower that we saw wasn't labeled Avengers Tower. It was Kang Tower, which in the comics led to like it was owned by Kang.
Yeah,
It wasn't very subtle on the name. I mean, it's
right.
Qeng,
Uh-huh.
but like Kang, it sounds the same.
Yeah.
So that was interesting. Like what variation of the timeline caused that to happen? Um, the funnest one, obviously, the Thanos copter,
Yeah.
because of course, and that's also from the comics. Because I saw that and I'm like, that's got to be something. Like what? There's a big yellow helicopter that says Thanos on it. That can't be just random. Whatever.
Right.
And then it's from a comic book.
Yeah,
Because of,
that's what I love about this series is that they and all of the series is that they really like picked from the comic books that like that's what I'm have said is that these series have like introduced cuckoo things that haven't been in the movies, but
Right.
I'm hoping will be based on these series.
yeah. Some other thing like I found funny is that like Kid Loki was drinking an ecto cooler.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Like why are ecto coolers in this what do they call this place? Realm?
The
Like,
void.
the void?
Yeah.
Is that why they all disappeared from Earth? They're just like, this is not right. So they sent all the ecto coolers to the void.
Yes.
There was a video game called Pelobius or something like that.
Uh-huh. I can see that.
Which is a urban myth that was a game created by the government to mind control people.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. And then the USS Eldritch was the ship from the Philadelphia experiment that disappeared.
Right.
And now we know where it went.
Now we know where it went.
Yeah. And then there's a helicarrier. What was a Hydra helicarrier?
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of little ones also. But like
Wonderful.
like they had to think of all these things to put in there. Right?
Yeah.
I wonder if any of it foreshadows something else or whatever. But
Right.
I thought it was cool. Any other Easter eggs that you noticed?
I mean, the only one that I didn't even catch some of the ones that you were talking about.
Mhm.
You know, like again, most unobservant person in the world. But my favorite thing was Throg, though.
Yeah.
So that was pretty much it.
Yeah.
I think we got them all.
Yeah, and then just go to like what I was saying earlier when with Sylvie and her Nexus event. You
Uh-huh.
know, when Kid Loki starts talking about something, and then he's like, every time one of us tries to fix ourselves, they send us here,
Yeah.
and it's like, okay, that's why I said like maybe Sylvie's Nexus event was that inadvertently she was straying from the typical Loki behavior. And again, like I said, like she's playing with a Valkyrie, so maybe she's thinking about, you know, being this like hero type person, which,
Mm-hmm.
you know, judging by the last episode, like Lokis are meant to be the gods of mischief and not these heroic characters,
Yeah.
right? Because and then also, I mean, like um, the thing with Loki, our Loki, or the Loki from the MCU that we've known,
Mm-hmm.
like I wonder, like obviously his Nexus event was like he took Tesseract, right? But I wonder if because old Loki, Richard Grant Loki, survived the Thanos event that killed Tom Hiddleston Loki, right? So it's like
Mm-hmm.
maybe the reason why like Tom Hiddleston Loki didn't get like uh, arrested by TVA later for becoming a hero is because he died, right?
Yeah.
And so that
I
fixed
think.
itself. Um, but I don't know. There's like a weird like there's a reason why the Lokis I think are targeted.
I know. There's just so much many questions about it. Yeah, because they're supposed to be. I think Mobius was saying that they are like the ones that cause the most trouble, or something like that. I can't remember. But yeah, it's very crazy.
You know, and I thought about Kid Loki because Kid Loki they asked why he was there, and his event was he
So,
killed Thor.
right.
Um, and obviously, first reaction is like that's terrible. However, if you really think about it, between the two of them,
Mm-hmm.
Loki would have been a better ruler if he just got over his whole narcissist part. But like he was the smarter one. He's I mean they
Well,
both
he's a tactician,
yeah.
and
And
he's very calculated.
yeah. And Thor even at the end of the day, he even knew he wasn't cut out to rule because he then gave it up.
Hmm.
Right. So I wonder if the killing of Thor would have started that Loki on that path, and that's why.
Yeah.
Again, that's why that line, it's not there for
Was
by chance. It's every time a Loki tries to fix themselves, we are sent here to die.
Yeah.
Right. So
It's crazy.
yeah.
All right. Well, let's move to episode 6, and then we can have our kind of big discussion. So in episode 6, we see Sylvie and Loki end up at a castle. They are greeted by Miss Minutes, who really pours on the Southern accent and tells them that he who remains will offer them a a chance to rule and kill Thanos. And they were, obviously thought it was appealing, but they end up not taking that deal. They go in and they meet he who remains, and he is kind of this quirky guy who says that he knows, what they're going to do, um, and also explains that he's from the 31st century. where they started kind of experimenting with the multiverse, and he meets this one guy that they really work on whatever it was that they were working with the multiverse, but the other guy showed his true colors and started a multiversal war. And so he who remains ended up like, and I don't even know how he did this, but like consolidating everything into one timeline, the sacred timeline. And yeah, they had a chance. He gave them basically a choice that they could let him live, and everything is the way that it is. Although they can have what they want, or they can kill him, and they will see his other selves, including like the most evil one. Loki and Sylvie, I think, have really great moment of discussion of who can trust who and all of this stuff. And Loki believes him, and Sylvie just does not. And she ends up sending Loki back to the TVA and killing He Who Remains. And all of a sudden, we see the multiverse branching out on the timeline. And Loki is sent back to the TVA. He sees Mobius and B-15, who don't recognize him. And then he looks over where the statue of the Timekeepers were, and it is of He Who Remains, which we now know is Kang the Conqueror. And they leave us with that, but they also leave us with the fact that we are going to have a season 2, which is awesome, which I talked about before. Any standout moments for you in this episode?
I mean, I can't remember his name now. I knew it before this. Jonathan Majors?
Yeah, Jonathan Majors.
Yeah. One, I love his portrayal of this version of
Kang,
whatever, on Nathaniel Richards.
Yeah.
Or whatever. And I think, like, I didn't know what to expect from him or how they're going to portray all of these variants, basically. But I cannot wait to see what he does with this character, with these characters, because I'm pretty positive we're going to see more variants of Kang. And kind of almost similar to oh my god, I can't remember her. D. Bradley Baker on Bad Batch and Clone Wars. It's one person who plays hundreds of different clones, and they all have different personalities. And if you watch the Bad Batch, it's easy to forget that all those characters are voiced by the same person.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I actually try to listen to the voices now, and how he is able to do that is amazing.
But like, I did not expect. I mean, like, because he's very quirky. I'm talking about He Who Remains, right? He's a little bit insane, but also just a little bit loopy, because he's been at this, and it's been him doing this for who knows how long,
right?
Millennia, right? So there's a little bit
and by
of that,
himself.
Yeah, it's like partly, like I said, Willy Wonka, and like partly the old knight dude from Last Crusade. This is from Last Crusade.
Oh.
Indiana Jones, Last Crusade. And so his performance is what made this episode, because technically this whole episode is exposition,
Yeah.
right? With anyone else, it could have been a very boring episode. Um,
Right.
but I really liked his performance. I liked the way they explained his history, basically.
I did too. Like I like the whole little whatever the whatever the things were that kind of grew. It's showing. I don't know how to. It's like a hologram, but not.
Yeah, no.
Um, yes, I think that I loved his performance. I at first I was like because I knew that they cast Kang,
Right.
but I didn't know him. So I'm like, who is this? And then as it went on, I was like, oh, okay, I know who this
Oh,
is. I didn't, and I even after the episode, I was like, Google. I'm like, oh, Jonathan Majors, Kang the Conqueror, and it pulled up like all of these, articles pointing to him being in Quantumania and denying that it was in Loki. And I thought that was funny. It must be hard to, have to keep secrets like that, especially when you're directly asked about something. But wow, how Marvel is able to keep those secrets is amazing.
I mean, at this point, I think anyone who's involved in Marvel already automatically knows
Yeah,
they're going to have to keep a lot of secrets, right?
they know. Yeah, I mean, they're
Like if you join Marvel, if you join Star Wars, there's going to be it's pretty much secret, 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 secret. You can't tell anybody.
yeah.
Um,
Star Wars, yeah, the same thing. It's like
yeah,
how they're able, you know. That's why I think sometimes when they have these rumors of things happening, I think those are actually Marvel sending them out because there there's no way that if people can't figure out XYZ is happening, um, like for real, then um, there's no way of knowing it.
I mean
But
there
yeah,
is, but it's
there
not.
is, yeah, but
So this stuff's
it's
been going on
hard.
for other things. But who they play, what they play, what they're involved in, sure.
Uh-huh.
I feel though this was easy because the production of this was during the pandemic, and
Yeah,
this episode feels very much like a volume episode.
it does.
Minimal cast. It's the three of them
Hmm.
in a kind of fantastical location that could have very well just been all in a volume with minimal crew.
Yeah.
Um, and I think it's my only actual real gripe of the series so far is that it does seem like it became very closed.
Hmm.
Well, there's two. There's that, and the fight scenes aren't great.
Between Loki and Sylvie.
Between all of it, all the fight scenes in this doesn't make sense to me because they are Asgardians fighting humans.
Yeah. I don't know. It didn't bother me, honestly, to tell you the truth.
I
I
mean,
don't know.
like
Maybe I.
judging by what we've seen Loki do in other fight scenes, like
Uh-huh.
and I'm not even talking about in the TVA, like outside the TVA, he's still Loki, and they still have powers, and they don't really use them. One like on Earth, fighting a neckbeard, Loki struggled. If that was Thor,
Hmm.
blink, that's it. That's all I have to do. It's a human, and but yet he needed a Roomba to help him, and he struggled even with that. Uh,
Yeah.
like if on the train, like Sylvie and him fighting the people on the train. I don't think they're as Guardians either. And it was more of a struggle, and you know, like I understand there's got to be some kind of like conflict and like sense of danger or whatever, but like it didn't make sense for someone who's very one tactile and two his gift is more talky
Mm-hmm.
that they couldn't resolve all those things
Yeah.
through their actual talents than reverting to the way Thor would handle things. That's my
Right.
gripe with anything. It's bothered me that like that's the one part where I'm like, that's not really a Loki thing.
I mean, I guess I could see what you're saying, but I guess it just, like I just accept the fact that things are convenient at one moment.
I
You
mean, yeah,
know,
it's a comic book
yeah.
movies thing, so,
Right.
but like it just that's the one like it's not that it turns that the series into crap for me. It's just like it bugs me every time I see
It
them
just
fight
bugs you.
because I'm like,
Mhm.
why is he having a hard time with a human being? That's all.
You're talking about He Who Remains.
No, like why does
Oh.
Loki struggle fighting a human?
Yeah, I think it's just out of convenience. Like they just need, they have a conflict and they have to. Yeah, I mean, you can't. Uh, it's just convenient.
I know, and that's what, but it's
Yeah.
doesn't mean does not bug me because it does bug me.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, no, I'm just saying that it just doesn't bug me, but it can bug you. I don't know. It's
Right.
it's a free country.
I mean, like I
All
said,
right.
it's not like all of a sudden this is like I hate this thing. Like I said, like if there's one thing that kind of bugs me about this series is
It's with
that,
that.
and I
Yeah.
wonder if it's also because of restraints and things they had to kind of adapt to because of the production happening like partly, or I don't know how much. I think a lot of it happened
Hmm.
during the pandemic, which limited resources and whatever. So
Yeah. Yeah. I think so.
that is all.
All right. Well, let's get into the major discussion. Um, so, I mean, I think the biggest question is what is the multiverse? Is it, and, going back to, um, what's her name? Sylvie. I don't know why I forgot her name. Sylvie, she's a girl who was arrested for being or we don't exactly know why. Uh, but was that a timeline thing? Was it a universe thing? Like this is a thing that is kind of bugging me because in Doctor Strange we learned that there are different dimensions. Oh no, I guess it's in there. It's dimensions. I don't know if there's something different between a dimension and a universe. Um,
Yeah, I don't know.
yeah, it's just like the thing that's bugging me is all like an alligator Loki. That was. I mean, he should have been arrested as soon as he was born. Same with Loki. I mean, same with Loki. Same with Sylvie.
Right, all of them
Uh, yeah,
should
all of
have.
them, and they weren't. It's like, where did they come from? Because it's not a different timeline. It's a different universe. So,
So if we look at that, then that means the multiverse already exists.
right. That's why I'm just. It
It's
just seems
the notion of time that is
splintering off.
splintering, and
Yeah.
that events in all of these universes are supposed to happen the way they're supposed to happen in order for whatever result it is that he who remains wants.
Right.
right? Um, I mean, that's like to go back to WandaVision. Wanda is supposed to be a Nexus character, which
Being,
means she
yeah.
is the same, give or take, in every version of her, which means I take that to mean every universe version of her, multiverse
Mm-hmm.
version of her. Um, but if we look at it and if you throw time in there, that means that every one of these universes has a timeline
Mm-hmm.
of events, and any kind of variation is where this whole Nexus event, like branching of that timeline by the rules of the Marvel Cinematic Universe time travel, is that, as the Ancient One explains, at point that deviates from where it's supposed to go, it doesn't change. Like you, basically, the Back to the Future thing does not happen. Like all of a sudden, you can't erase yourself because you already exist.
Mm-hmm.
You just change your future. You don't change your past. Is what they're trying to
Right.
say. So you can't go back and kill Hitler. Hitler will still have done what he did in that timeline. So your time from the point you go back to kill Hitler changes.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes, I mean, it's still time travel, so some of it's all wonky, but like I'm gonna totally forget where I'm going with this, but like I think what we don't all understand right now is multiverse timeline are two different things.
Yes.
Because everyone,
That's it.
because like right, because like at the end of that of episode 6, everyone's like, and that's how the multiverse was born. And I'm like, yeah. Then you think about it, and like, no, it's already there. It's just now,
Splinter
it's a
timeline.
multiverse of madness.
The multiverse of madness. Yeah, it's going to be. I mean, I'm sure that we are going to learn more as this phase occurs. And I'm super excited. Like I was just answering your question about somebody was saying, is what if canon? And I'm like, yeah, it's going to be canon. And I think that we are going to see the, this is what we're going to see the result of what is happening here in episode 6.
Yeah, I
And
I would not be surprised if every episode of What If ends with this event and what happens
mhm,
to their timelines, right?
that actually would be so cool if they
Yeah,
do that.
and like the question also is, okay, we know season 2 is coming.
Mhm.
When does season 2 occur? Because
Yeah,
we
because
know because we know this year we're gonna get Spider-Man No Way Home,
mhm,
right? And I think Doctor Strange like spring of 2022.
2022. Yeah, that's why I think it's going to come out after Multiverse of Madness, because I don't think that they. It sounds like they haven't actually produced the last half of the next season 2, because apparently the director
Yeah, it's not
is
coming back,
not coming back. Yeah, and so if she's not, then they haven't started filming yet
right?
because they haven't picked a new director.
And it's like
Um,
it's a little. Like, I'm curious to why, because
yeah,
it's not like she was like, I'm gonna go off and do something else. Well, she is going to do something else, but she can't say what it is.
it could be.
So I
It
wonder
could
if
be.
it's one of those like um oh my god, my name recall one of the directors from Mandalorian who's now doing Obi-Wan. It's Deborah
Hmm.
Chow.
Yeah, Deborah Chow.
Like she didn't come back to direct any of the season 2 because
Because she has something else
she has
to
something else going on.
do.
You
Yeah,
know.
that's probably it. Although she was a great director. I mean, that's one thing is like, I love the fact that all 3 series have had like major woman presence, because the WandaVision, there was the creator that worked hand in hand with Matt Shankman
Yeah.
on that show. Then Falcon and the Winter Soldier was directed by a woman, and this show was directed by a woman. It's amazing. Like, I love it. I think, and they really have shown that they can, I mean, create these great series that everybody loves. I mean, people are totally into these series, so it's,
Yeah.
I'm glad that they're being given a chance, and I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, look at Black Widow. So,
yeah,
um,
right.
but yeah, so I'm curious to where this story continues and where we pick up when we come back to Loki. Like,
Yeah,
obviously, there's unfinished business with Ravonna Renslayer,
hmm
B-15, and Mobius, and what happened. Like, why do they not remember who? Like, what happened?
yeah.
Like, either
Are they?
is it a different now time, like a branch timeline, or are they in a different universe?
Yeah,
Right?
that's the thing. Is that where are they?
Yeah.
Like in time?
Yeah.
Because obviously they didn't recognize Loki, and this is actually another question that I had that we were going to talk about. Is that Mobius and B-15, are they the originals and just don't remember, or are they somebody else, like another timeline?
It's hard to tell
And
because, like, even in this story, like when the interactions between Mobius and Renslayer with those drink rings on her table, and
mhm,
how Mobius was kind of like, um, like she was like commenting on him putting the drink down on the table, and he was like, "But these rings are already here." And then she's
yeah,
like, "Yeah, all from you." Like, he doesn't seem to remember that he did that. So,
yeah,
is Renslayer also like kind of a nexus being that is in different universes, but on the same timeline?
and where did she go?
And where did she go? Like, what is
Yeah,
it that like Miss Minutes is Miss Minutes answering to He Who Remains or
hmm
someone else, because she gave Renslayer, because Renslayer was like, "This is not the information I asked for," and then Miss Minutes was like, "No, but he thought this would be more useful."
yeah,
Like, who? If it's not, I mean, obviously it all points to probably He Who Remains, but given
well,
that
it kind. Oh, go
given that
ahead.
this is the Marvel Cinematic Universe and like what we've learned from WandaVision and this show, like expectations and kind of inferring things sometimes doesn't really pan out. Like, it could be someone entirely different.
Right.
Could be
They,
Mephisto.
you could be Mephisto. Okay.
Yeah.
Clearly, she is confused a little bit about, like she goes to see B-15,
Yeah.
and B-15 is like, hey, everything's crazy. And so she starts researching, and so she's confused a little bit. But again, she goes somewhere, and we have no idea where she goes.
No. Like,
So,
that's the thing. Like, she knew people being pruned didn't kill them,
right,
but I don't think she knows who's behind. I think she honestly believed that the
timekeepers were
the
real.
animatronics were real.
Yeah,
Um, and the thing is, like, while Mobius is like, we need to, like, the truth sets us free,
hmm
Renslayer is more like, I need to know, like, I need to know the truth to protect the truth,
yeah,
right? Like, her whole thing was like, well, someone started this, I had to protect that person. She's like
yeah.
totally
She has
involved
like,
in that, like, Like her mindset is like, yeah, but this is all necessary, so I agree with it still, even though we've been lied to or whatever. Uh, she's she's fully fully ingrained in whatever the TVA's mission is.
That's why I'm wondering also if she goes to see He Remains and he's dead and it's, King the Conqueror, do they, we know that she was a love interest for Kang. Does this, is this how she gets mixed up with him because she has to have faith that somebody's in charge?
Probably could be. Like I
Yeah,
they don't just pick this character with this history
out of,
and
yeah,
not. I mean, obviously, like all through the cinematic universe, there's tweaks here and there, so nothing's ever really a one-to-one translation.
right.
But like, she's known as a character who has a relationship with Kang the Conqueror.
Yes.
Um,
And yeah, they could have easily made her another kind of judge or whatever,
yeah,
but yeah, it's she has a close relationship with Kang. Kang is now clearly the, you know, actually, do we think that he is the new Thanos? I mean, not Thanos in the way of actual Thanos, but the big bad for the rest of this phase.
yes.
I think so too.
I mean, like,
Because
it's funny. Like, I want to also kind of like it's the obvious, right?
uh,
But like they're playing a game of like, well, here's the obvious thing, but most of the time it's really this.
yeah,
So maybe it's. I mean, like, obviously, I'll say this: Kang is an important central figure in Phase 4.
yeah, I think
Um,
so.
Probably a little bit on the antagonist side, but I'm feeling it's not going to be as clear cut. That's the
Yeah,
thing with like what Marvel's come to do and do well is like as they've progressed through all these movies, their villains have become way more like we can sympathize with them, um,
uh,
and I wonder what it is that we're not
what
just
would you
gonna get
say?
a narcissistic megalomaniac
Yeah,
villain. Like there's got to be something behind Kang the Conqueror
I
that
agree.
humanizes him and makes us go like kind of like with Thanos. Same thing with like Zemo.
Right.
Um, like
Remember
we're kind of
when?
right. Like he's kind of right. Like,
Yeah. Remember when people said that Marvel did not have any good villains? It's like now,
other than that, like there's still. I mean, like there's still ones where you're just like, okay, like that's super evil dude. Like Black Widow's villain is pretty much your quintessential villain, right?
right?
Like,
Yeah.
but Thanos is again, it's one of those things where you're like, he has a point, right?
Uh huh.
Zemo has a point. Killmonger has a point,
Right.
right? But they're interspersed with also really bad dudes. Like while Killmonger, you kind of go, okay, um, what's his face? Andy Serkis's character doesn't seem like there's any
Hmm.
redeeming qualities about that guy.
Oh yeah.
Just
What was his
I
name
can't remember
again?
his name,
Oh my god.
but you know what I mean. What you know what I mean? Um,
I mean, I know exactly what you're talking about, but
yeah,
now it's gonna bug me
yeah.
that I can't remember his name.
Um, I mean, like even like Jake Gyllenhaal, like while you know there was still a reason, like you bought the reason why he did all what he did, him and all the rest of the ex like Tony Stark employees that
Yeah.
were wrong. You get it, and you're like,
Totally.
well, they're definitely misguided, but like I understand where that comes from, right?
Uh-huh.
And that's what makes these villains
Interesting.
memorable and interesting. That's why
Yeah.
like when you say that the guy who plays Yellow Jacket's coming back,
Uh-huh.
I hope he's redeemed in a way that his reason to be evil the bad guy, makes more sense,
Yeah.
right? It's kind of like Obadiah from Iron Man. I think that's what for me keeps that movie from becoming one of my favorite. It keeps getting pushed down by other movies coming out, is because
Mhm.
while the Iron Man story, Tony Stark story, I love, his villain was just kind of there, and it didn't make sense because, like, again, like, my question would be, all right, the day after all those events happened, and if Obadiah won, what does he do? Like,
Yeah.
everyone in the world knows what he did. Like, it's like he became this evil dude. So, like, did he expect everyone to be like, oh, I guess he's in our own Stark Industries?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's
Well,
why.
I think that he, thought that he was going to be like own Stark Industry when Tony Stark got lost, and although he was the
Right,
puppet master behind that,
right.
and
Like, that
yeah,
makes sense, but then everything he did when Tony Stark came back, like,
it was a little mustache twirling. That's the thing. It's
yeah,
like
right. That's when it's like, all
so.
right. Um, but, like, that's why I think with Kang being such a prominent character, I think
Mhm.
we're not going to get the Kang that we know from the comics, or even, I would say, like, the most recent thing that I know him from is the Earth's Mightiest Heroes.
Mhm.
I think the I, I keep getting the two Avengers cartoon series mixed up because the one that came
The
before
Midas, yeah, Mighty's Heroes. The
is the other one
new one
Avengers
was
Assemble.
Avengers Assembled.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, the previous one uh, is where I mostly know him from, and I'm pretty sure they're not going to make him that. I think there's going to be
Mhm.
a lot more nuance, judging by Jonathan Major's performance of this version. There's going to
Right.
be a lot more to this character than just I am Kang the Conqueror. Right.
He apparently voiced the Timekeepers.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that makes sense.
which makes sense. But yeah, I didn't know that. It's kind of fun. It's kind of fun when you find out these little tidbits of who played who
Yeah.
and things like that. So, but getting back to actually, what's his name? Um, to Mobius and B-15.
Yeah.
Do you think that they are the originals and just don't remember, or do you think that we're in a different timeline?
That's the thing, is I'm not really sure because that's why, like, that's this is when you try to unravel how time and multiverses work, that it
Mm-hmm.
becomes super like it's very janky. And not just talking
Yeah,
about the MCU, but anytime there's
very
time travel,
timey
there's
wimey.
always things where if you really start thinking about it really hard,
Uh huh.
some things don't make sense. And I think that's just the way time is. I think it's because we perceive time as linear, right? So we're trying to associate things and how we perceive time,
Right.
right? And I think if we do that, it makes things weird. So it's like, I don't know if that's the Mobius and B-15 we've been on this journey with, or if it's a now we are all in a variant version of the timeline
Mm-hmm.
kind of thing, right? Um, so I don't know. That's would be the interesting. Like, that's why I'm like, I'm curious how much of this story goes into Spider-Man and then Doctor
Strange.
Strange. I know are they finished filming Quantumania, or they're starting to film Quantumania?
I know that they are filming Quantumania right now because they
Yeah.
I read something about them filming in San Francisco, which
So
makes sense
I
because that's
want,
where
like,
they're from.
that's why I want. So I wonder now if it's gonna be, and do the Eternals touch any of this stuff?
That I don't know. I have no idea like I have no idea what the Eternals
Like, is this
will
the reason
be,
why
and
they've chosen to stop being observers and actually take part in something?
that's what I'm wondering.
Right?
Yeah, because I have literally no idea.
Yeah.
I don't think that Shang-Chi is
No, I think that's
affected by
still.
this right
I think
now.
that's still street level and kind of like origin story for
Yeah,
him.
right.
Now we might get something. Like it's. I don't think if there's any mention of it or anything we see like in the post credits or something at the end of that
Hmm.
movie, it's just to show that okay, this is still a Phase 4 movie. Like
Yeah,
he can have that story, his origin story, and then at the end tack on this little thing that points to like something happened,
yeah.
right? Um, I forgot to look into the alternate trailer that you kept mentioning
Oh, right.
because now I'm like, I wonder. Who knows? But
Yeah, just
so I'm
yeah.
wondering if
Check
it's
it
going to
out.
be like Shang-Chi, the Eternals, Spider-Man, Multiverse of Madness, Quantumania, or if it goes Multiverse of Madness, Loki season 2, then Quantumania, and it
Hmm.
gets resolved in Quantumania,
Yeah,
right?
I guess. I mean, yeah. Who knows? Or it could just be that there's a major, event that happens there, and they, you know, I feel like there's going to be something bigger, like a multiversal war. Like, you know, I think that there's going to be something bigger, but I don't know.
Well, I
I
mean, like
don't
it
know.
goes into Secret Wars
Yeah,
also.
that's what I'm wondering. Is it going to be Secret Wars or
I guess I do. I
who
don't. I
knows?
guess we really don't know when this storyline ends because like
Hmm.
I know they didn't like. I know they've kind of said they didn't want to do another Thanos
Level thing,
level. I mean, like level in that it took 10 years to do, right?
right?
So maybe it's. I mean, like King the Conqueror is still a major threat. Like
He's a
just thinking
major,
about
yeah,
things,
he's a
right? So,
major
but
villain,
maybe it's not going to take 10 years to resolve. That's what I'm thinking. It'll
right?
be a
Maybe it's going to
shorter
be,
storyline, basically.
yeah, because
Um,
we don't know, if there's other films in Phase 4 or
like
what.
we haven't heard of an Avengers movie,
Yeah,
right? And again,
yeah,
like we keep getting also pieces of Young Avengers.
hmm,
Like
exactly.
technically, there is a King the Conqueror in Young Avengers. There's
Yep.
also a version of him that played was Iron Lad.
Yeah, or,
And
yeah.
then who knows? Maybe we haven't seen the last of Kid Loki, right?
Hmm.
Because he did survive, and he'll
Yeah,
bring Alligator Loki with him.
I know.
I mean, like, I feel like when Hawkeye comes, and there's Hawkeye, but I don't think also think Hawkeye's gonna really touch this.
No, I think that's going to be like the Black Widow
Yeah,
universe. I think there's going to be some films that it doesn't touch and other films that it does.
but I do think
Uh,
we'll know more about like a solid like Young Avengers is coming, and I think it's Kate Bishop
oh
um,
yeah.
is what's gonna start that storyline off.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like come on, we know Cassie, we've seen
Ezra Lang,
um yeah,
Billy, and
so Hulkling and
Tommy,
oh my god, what's his name? What's his hero name? It's Hulkling
Thor,
and
Wiccan.
Wiccan.
Yeah,
Uh, and then um, what's his name? Eli.
Speed.
Oh yeah,
That's his name. Speed.
yeah.
Speed and Wiccan. Those are the
Oh, Hulkling's
two.
different. We might get a Hulkling. I
Hul-
bet we get a Hulkling in the Secret Invasion.
I would love for them to have that, and because Wiccan and Hulkling are boyfriends.
Yeah.
So I'd love to see that
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
And there's so much. There's just
Like,
so much to.
yeah, so they've been introducing all these characters, with not really saying anything that they're connected in any way. But people who are comic fans know that like all of these people are young or have been in the Young Avengers,
Yeah.
and
I bet you that Hulkling would come out of Secret Invasion.
right, I'm thinking that
Yeah.
too. That's
I
because he's a Skrull, right?
yeah, he's a Skrull.
Yeah. Man.
Uh,
And
so much.
I mean, maybe this also then culminates into Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
As
because he is a
he's mostly known as a Fantastic Four
villain.
So,
oh my god, yeah, maybe it will end in Fantastic
like
Four.
maybe all these, maybe it's like their powers aren't from whatever radiation thing, and this is coming from whatever we've seen already, like the Infinity Snap or all those kind of things.
Yeah. Oh my god, I would love that. I would love it.
We need to know more.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there's just the ramifications from this series and WandaVision
Mm-hmm.
are almost endless. Like there's so many possibilities they can go in.
Right.
Like I wonder if Spider-Man No Way Home is all about this, or if it's going to be this a kind of like. I don't think Alfred Molina is like in a majority of that movie. I feel like it's going to be like a snippet. Like the rumors, he's the only one who's admitted it because he's Alfred Molina. He's like, "What did you do? Fire me?"
Yeah. It could be that maybe at the end.
Yeah.
This all happened.
This all happened
because obviously they have to resolve what they set up at the end of Far From Home.
And that's got to be what it is. Like his No Way Home is he's on the run because he's been doxed basically by J. Jonah Jameson, who is a Nexus being because he's on this universe and he's in the other universe.
Yeah.
So I think it's still going to be that story, and then something happens, and again, I think we're going to see Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire and Alfred Molina and Jamie Foxx and whoever else they said might show up.
Right.
And that would be amazing. Animated Spider-Ham.
If they have Spider-Ham in this movie, I will flip out. Like I mean, and who knows? I mean, they've had Howard the Duck.
Yeah.
And Howard the Duck is going to be in What If. Yeah. And who knows if we'll see Howard the Duck. I would love a Howard the Duck movie.
Speaking of Howard the Duck, on yesterday on Kevin Smith's podcast, Fat Man Beyond, someone asked him a question about like a character from the 70s. It's like a werewolf.
I'm not sure.
Because he was talking about horror characters and whatnot.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And
I think
and because Howard the Duck, like, because Kevin Smith was doing the Howard the Duck series.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Obviously they asked him, like, he had a plan, right? He was like, I want to use this character, this character, this character, this character. And that specific character, they said, no. You can't use this character. He's like, why? And they told him because of the movies have that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like, I don't know if it's going to appear anytime soon, but I mean, like, I thought that was interesting that, this obscure 70s horror Marvel character that Kevin Smith was just like, sure.
Yeah, I know.
That character is reserved because it's owned by, or it's being reserved by the movie studios for whatever
Yeah.
reason.
It's very interesting. Adventures by D is in the house.
Hey,
Hey!
hello.
He's asking what's their Howard the Duck reference. Howard the Duck is going to be in What If. And so we were just talking about how. Why did I bring up Howard the Duck? Now I forgot. There was a reason why. Oh, Spider Ham.
Spider Ham.
That yeah, Spider Ham. That if they can bring in Howard the Duck, they can definitely do Spider Ham, and he's one of the major ones that they've been promoting as in the Spider Verse is Spider Ham.
I know.
Yeah. So I think that it's going to happen.
Right there.
I can only hope. I can only hope. Okay, so what do and Adventure by D, if you have any questions about Loki, we're talking about Loki, and let us know. We'll try to answer them or try to tackle them. And but what do you think happened to the other Lokis? You think that they're happily living in one of the timelines?
Like
Or,
the ones in the void.
yeah, the ones in the void.
Well,
Alligator.
I think the ones in the bunker thing had an all out fight, whatever.
Oh, nice.
But as for, I mean, we know what happens to Richard Grant.
To who?
Richard Grant Loki.
Oh, right. I know, but who knows? I mean, maybe he'll come back. I would love to see him come back.
Like, I am so hopeful that Kid Loki comes back with Alligator Loki
Yes.
in the Young Avengers.
Oh, that would be so fun.
Did you notice that they did the get help? They did get help. You know, like in Ragnarok, where Thor and Loki were like, "Let's do get help," and Loki's like, "No," and it's really
Yeah.
literally the Thor just throws Loki. Kid Loki threw Alligator Loki at the other Lokis.
Yeah. That was so funny, and he bit his hand
Good
off.
off.
Yeah.
That was amazing.
Let's see. What other questions do we have? Do you have any questions, burning questions about the whole the whole series?
I mean, this is a lot of like it opens up a lot of possibilities, but still has a lot of questions, right?
Hold on. Did I just pull myself out?
Hmm?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh no.
Can you not hear me?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can anybody hear me? Did I do something to my headphone? Oh my god. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I have to not use my headphones. I did something that totally threw it off.
All right.
Let's see. I would love to see another 3 to 5 episodes or so in this season. Yeah, but at least we're getting a season 2. So and we'll probably get 6 episodes of that. So I think that they strategically did that, where I think they wanted to keep. Okay, good, thank you. I think that they want to keep these episodes short and try to make the whole thing cinematic, which I think that they managed to do.
Yeah, I think like, I see a lot of people go like, "This doesn't make sense," like, and like, why did they just do this and end it this way? I'm like, they're literally bringing the way comics work to life, basically.
Yeah.
There's a lot of comics that storylines start in one comic and then branch off into a completely different comic. I think this is an example of it. Like this was a setup, right? So they have a overall storyline they want to tell for Phase 4.
Right.
And these Disney Plus shows gives them the opportunity to do things that they would have to somehow do in some kind of exposition in a 2 hour movie.
Yeah.
Right. So everything that happened in WandaVision builds up stuff. Everything that happened in Falcon and Winter Soldier builds something up, and everything that happened in Loki, I think, leads into what we're going to see in the next movies. And then the through line is all that stuff with the multiverse and the timeline that's going to branch somehow. And it's going to hit definitely a little bit of Spider-Man, but then definitely is going to be a major part of Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. And then, depending on what order it is, either, and then gets kind of resolved a little bit in season 2.
Yeah.
Right. So if events that happen in Multiverse of Madness then carry on over into season 2 of Loki. But I think the whole Loki series itself is going to be centered still on our Tom Hiddleston Loki, Sylvie, and the Mobius, Ravonna, and probably B-15. And I think their story will continue. While they probably won't play a big part in the overall Phase 4 everything, their little part of the story will be resolved or continue in Loki season 2.
What do you think happened to Sylvie? Like, where is she now?
I don't know. Like, does she stay there, or does she? Because she has a time thingy,
Timeline, yeah. So she must have a timeline.
so she can go somewhere. Like, I wonder if does she realize what happened, and then maybe Loki was right, and then try to find him, or does she hide out again somewhere, and then Tom Hiddleston Loki will try to find her.
Yeah. I don't think they're ever going to find happiness, but
No.
I definitely want to see her back as a character.
Oh yeah, there's again too many things where at this point that she is the Enchantress, right? I think that's gonna be something that happens.
And maybe that she is the Enchantress in our universe, or the main universe.
Yeah.
616.
Yeah.
I wonder if they're going to reference 616.
It's very possible. Anytime there's a number on screen, usually it references something.
Yeah.
So look and see. All I know is that at some point, Owen Wilson needs to be on a jet ski.
I know. Yeah. I mean, there's got to be a universe where he's on a jet ski.
I mean, it'd be awesome if his story continues and he does have to go on a jet ski.
Yeah.
Even if it's a space jet ski.
I would love that. I mean,
or it's him has to hop on a jet ski, and to save alligator Loki.
Once Kang becomes the Conqueror, do you think that he wants to have a multiverse, like a splintered timeline, or do you think that he's going to try to control the timeline to have an advantage?
I mean, the way He Who Remains kind of talks about the not so savory versions of himself, I feel like, while and he says it like we're all villains, right?
Yeah.
So there's almost like what's the better of two evils thing, where He Who Remains has his own vision of at least this kind of keeps order, even though it's still a terrible thing to do. And I think the other guy, or whoever, is more along the same lines of we just want things to be ordered, but my version of order is this.
Right. That benefit him.
Yeah. So I don't know, like what his end game is.
Right. Well, it's very interesting. Also, do you think that he who remains is like telling the truth? Because one minute he says, "I know everything that you're going to do," but then the next minute he says, "I don't know what like you're going to do with me." But does do you think that he actually knew that Sylvie was going to kill him?
No, I think I buy the fact that like he knew everything to that point, and that's what he
Uh
was
huh.
referencing. Like, I think once he gave them the choice, that's when he was kind of like, because that's when it changed, and he was like literally going, "Huh, like I've never experienced this before. I've never experienced. I don't know." And
Right.
then him watching it, like it, I feel like um, that was definitely him being truthful. Like he didn't know at that point what was going to
Yeah.
happen. But I mean, he did say before when Sylvie stabbed him or killed him is like see you soon, and gave a wink because I think
Right.
he knew enough that he if that happened that it was just repeat at some point.
Yeah.
He just didn't know how it was going to go from there, but he knew whatever choice they made, he knows what was going to happen after that.
Yeah.
Maybe not like to the point where he can quote whatever, but he knows the cycle. It's a loop,
Yeah.
right? So I think he knew, but she made her choice. And the thing is, like, it's the whole, he kind of planted the seeds in their both Loki and Sylvie's minds. Like, can you really trust Loki and those kind of things? Like, if he didn't say it, would she have thought it? To
Yeah.
where she didn't like, did he steer her towards this because that's what he wanted? Because it could be like a Luke Skywalker kind of thing. I've been doing this. I'm just tired, right? And so the
Right.
outcome I want to happen is I want her to kill me,
Yeah.
and then she does because all he had to do is nudge a little bit,
Right.
plant the seeds of distrust in things, and he did.
Yeah.
He didn't do it like don't trust him. He kind of goes, but can you really trust him? Just kind of like you know giving her a little bit of doubt so that her brain will start thinking about can I trust him? And
Yeah.
so
I thought all of that between Loki and Sylvie, it was. I thought it was like a really kind of great performance between the two of them because
yeah.
I didn't know which way it was going to go. Honestly, like I was surprised when she betrayed him at the end.
I feel like I would because I didn't know there'd be a season two, so I was leaning towards like, well, she's not going to do it because it's the last episode.
Yeah,
uh, but then when she did, I'm like, oh man, what's going to happen?
I know. I was surprised. I
Yeah,
was genuinely surprised. So.
I was pleasantly surprised because like at the end before that post credits scene or just that little reaffirmation that there's a season two, I was like, what now? Like, I was like, I don't know how I feel about this. Like it's everything so unresolved.
Right.
And like, oh, it continues. I'm like, are they gonna come back in like Doctor Strange? And then I'm like, there's got to be a post credit scene that explains something.
There's got to be something that
Yeah.
leads to something. Yeah, I mean, like basically, where do you think this is going? That's my last question. Where do you think this is going to lead? Now we talked a little bit about hopefully it'll lead to the Fantastic Four, since he is a major villain. Um, I like that theory, and I'm going to stick with that one.
I mean, like it's gonna end. I think this phase ends with the Fantastic Four and the X-Men or the mutants. You know,
Yes.
um, I think what's gonna happen is they're gonna do some kind of weird thing where the multiverse becomes one universe.
That's what I'm thinking.
And then by them doing that, they pull in some of these characters from other universes
mm-hmm.
into it, and that can help bring in, because like it's a weird thing to all of a sudden introduce mutants without history, right?
Yeah.
Because in their timeline, it's something that's been happening over decades, so you can't just start and all of a sudden they're mutants. But if they had that history already in their own universe and somehow it just melds into this universe,
yeah,
we don't have to do that. So,
though I was just reading something about in Black Widow, there's the guy Ursa who was doing the hand wrestling or with
the big guy,
Alexi, yeah. So in the comics, Ursa is a one of the Winter Guard who he turns into a bear. But the actor said that he is actually the first mutant to appear in the Marvel universe. Like, I guess he had that confirmed by Marvel, and he seemed to know a lot about his character. So
interesting.
I think it's interesting. I think that he's going to be coming back because they gave him such a backstory.
I mean, my other theory for mutants was that because the Earth went through 2 snaps with that energy, right? That was the catalyst for mutations.
So
if that's the truth, like, I mean, like at that point in the timeline, he would not have been a mutant. Like it depends on like how we just kind of define, like, his character could end up being a mutant.
Yeah.
Because if his character in the comics is a mutant, like it could be like, okay.
Right, because you'd think that a guy who could turn into a bear
would know, like,
would actually have
turn into a bear.
While
right?
Wrestling.
Right. So I feel like yeah, that's could be true, with the notion that in a little bit after the events of Black Widow, the first snap happens, and then 5 years later the second snap happens,
right?
And if he's around for both or something,
yeah.
Like, I wonder if everyone who was blipped away, obviously they come back. No, actually, there's 3 snaps, right? There's the snap Thanos does, there's the snap that Hulk does, and then the snap that Tony does. All on Earth. And like when Rocket was explaining, like the Earth never had that much of a power or something. I can't remember what it exactly says.
There was a lot of it.
And there was 3 on Earth that originated from Earth, right? I think that could be also an easy excuse to create mutants, like, people who were blipped away got blipped back, and then we're still there, and then another snap happens, so maybe all 3 of those events did something to them, because they were out of existence for 5 years, and then they were brought back. Like, maybe that combined with another 3rd snap
could have
triggers something in their DNA, right? Otherwise, whatever comes from the multiverse could also explain that, because he still could be, Ursula could still be a mutant, because his character in this multiverse, somewhere he's a mutant, and that character, who whatever ends up as the end result, that version of him can be around. So
I'm just so excited to see how they introduce mutants. I just wish that we could get there right now. You know what I mean?
All right.
But Fantastic Four comes first, and I really do think what you were saying about Fantastic Four being part of this whole thing and maybe the culmination,
Right.
uh, I'm
Yeah.
all for it.
I mean, because it would be like if they introduced Magneto as a big
Mhm.
bad and never included the X-Men. That'd be weird,
Yeah,
right? Because
I think so.
X-Men, I mean, he's a mutant, so like, but I mean, he's pretty much one of the main antagonists of the X-Men universe.
Right.
Kang the Conqueror is, I mean, one, if if they keep this part of his story, like you already said, he's from the 31st century. That's where it
Hmm.
originated, which is where Nathaniel Richards was, the 31st
Right.
century, as a descendant of the Richards, which means Reed Richards, right?
Mhm.
So they would have to play somewhere, I would
Yeah,
imagine. It'd be weird if they didn't, I think.
I agree. I agree.
So,
Um, all right. Well, we're at a little over an hour and a half, actually, almost 2 hours.
yeah.
um, do you have any other burning questions, or we can wrap it up?
I mean, there's a lot of questions that we're not going to get answered. So I'll just say that I'm definitely pleased with all the shows so far, and it makes me even more interested in what happens in What If in a couple of weeks.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm really excited for that series.
yeah, and I can't wait just to know more of what's coming. Like even if it's just casting news or whatever.
Yeah.
Um, this makes it real. Like once we know there's someone being cast as any of the Fantastic Four, we know it's a real thing.
Right.
So yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, good discussion. Adventures by D, do you have any questions if you're still here? Let us know. Otherwise, we're going to wrap up the show. Um, if you enjoyed yourself, please subscribe to our channel. Hit the bell for notifications. Do like this post. Again, we're Castle Capes and Clones, where we discuss everything in the Disney universe. We'll be on hiatus from Castle Capes and Clones Present until What If comes out, and then we will come back and discuss all of the episodes from What If.
Yep.
And yeah, so it's going to be very cool. Adventure by D, thank you so much for coming. And with that, you can always reach us here on the make a comment or on Instagram. We get a lot of people writing us there. It's Castles, Capes, and Clones on Instagram. And on Twitter, it's at LowJav, although I'm not quite as good as answering questions on Twitter. So it's better to do Instagram. Anyway, where can they find you, Rich?
Both Twitter and Instagram at R2Romasanta.
All right. Well, thank you again for coming. For those of you who are watching us in replay, thank you, and we will see you later. Thank you. Goodbye.
Yep. For all time, always.
Yes.